My discussion today would be, as it says here, a two-stage approach to accelerate SDN control in the multi-domain carrier IP/optical network. It's a long, long title. But the key word here, and what I want you to take, is actually the acceleration part. Because actually this presentation also tells the story of Sedona system. So for those of you who are not so familiar with Sedona system, we're a startup company, a software company, actually based here in Cupertino. Engineering is in Israel. Yes, there are still software startup companies in the telecom industry. And actually this presentation tells the story of us. So as a small company where we had to generate value to our customers, so we had to look for ways how to accelerate adoption. All right, so it was something that as a startup you always have to do, but as like a lot of you presented during almost every talk here, the need was as obviously because what everybody's talking about, the revenue per bit is below the cost per bit. We were looking for ways to optimize it. So we thought we looked at the evolving technology, we looked at multi-layer control. Multi-layer control was supposed to be the technology, or is still the technology that actually allows you to treat the network as a whole. You have IP layer, you have microwave, you have transport, and what you realize is because things are still siloed, also from an organizational perspective, you're seeing a lot of over-provisioning. So you go to IP MPLS layer, so the IP designers would provision protection. And the optical folks would do the same thing, just to realize later that the same IP circuits were going through the same fiber duct. And then the protection, you had the investment, but you didn't get back the money for the protection. So basically, you're over-provisioning without gaining back the resiliency. So the promise was that with this multi-layer technology, we can actually bring optimization and automation. That was the reason why this company was founded and funded also. And this is what we're building. So we went out, and the mission was clear. Service provider needs to do more with less, more traffic, more services, more speed, with less gear, less engineering. We can actually help them to solve this problem. So we went out. We've built a solution to do automation and some optimization capabilities. We've built demonstrations with Telefonica, Vodafone. I mean, a lot of visibility we got through it. And then we went out to the market. We started pitching it to customers, especially customers that were interested in automation. And this is why I told you this is actually the story of Sedona as a company. Because the guys liked it, but they said, you need to understand where we're at right now. And where you want to take us is down the road. We want to be there. But there are obstacles. We have challenges to get there. And the more conversations we had with people, this thing starts to flood. And this is one of my favorite quotes because it helps us understand the challenge by ourselves. So Colt was very public about it, but I can tell you that we're getting this message across the industry, where automation's silent killer is poor quality data. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, if you have, you're a service provider, and you have an environment that is mixed, you have legacy, and you have, like next gen. There's always next gen, and they're not necessarily talking with the same language. So even if you have APIs, for the latest and greatest kind of devices, what are you going to do with all your legacy build that is out there? And you know what? Let's assume that everything now is greenfield, and you have API for everything. You know what? Let's even assume it's the same API, which is not the case. But let's just assume that. So you have one domain, let's say a Sienna domain, and another domain is Korean domain, and one of them is in your metro, the other one is your backbone, and you're connecting them through a handoff, right, through an Ethernet client port. There's no system out there that can discover this inter-domain connection and provide you end-to-end visibility, because for each one of the system, it's out of the domain. So this cross-domain becomes a big challenge. So data, poor quality data, is blocking a lot of the automation function. And we're like listening, and then we realize something. When we build our solution for automation and optimization, with the puristic start we had to solve this problem. If you want to optimize something, you need to understand what is out there first. How can you automate something if you don't know what is out there? So we've built a set of algorithms that automatically correlate the different layers of the network in the domain. So we can tell our customers, basically we can tell everybody how, for example, each port on the router is connected to each port on the optical switch. Or how each port on the optical switch in one domain connects to another one. And it's all with read-only solution. We're not injecting any packets. It's all based on mathematical algorithms. But the point is that we solve this problem for ourselves, right? Because we have to solve it. And all of a sudden, we realized that this is a fundamental technology that our customers need, because they need to know how their network looks like. They need to know how it's connected. They need to know how one domain is connected to another, how one legacy system is connected to another next generation system. So how do you extract accurate data from real network? And that's a key part of the technology. As a company, we set goal not to go to records, inventory systems, because our customers do not trust them. If you're a service provider, you know that your inventory system is not that accurate, I would say. And that's the reason why there's a lot of fallout. So as a company, what we did, and remember, originally it was for our own internal need, we are going directly to the network elements. So now you have a bunch of domains. You have IP aggregation, IP core, optical metro, optical long haul, but eventually they're the same network. So how do you stitch everything together? So every solution that will try to provide any kind of automation would have to be multi-layer, would have to be multi-vendor, and would have to be multi-domain. Otherwise, as long as you're in a single domain, you're absolutely right. You can automate within the domain. You can do whatever you want. But the reality is that most of the time you're spending inner domain. You're trying to build something between domains. So what are you going to do with that? And how are you going to stitch things together? This is exactly where we fit in. And this is exactly what we did with our customers. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to share with you some use cases and what we actually deployed. This solution is running with Tier 1 service provider. Recently, we're now allowed to say Verizon went public about it, and they've announced that they've deployed the solution. And of course, we're very proud of it. A lot of work, but it was worth it. And that's the only architectural slide I'm going to show you. It's very simple. We're going to the network, the IP vendors, the optical vendors. All the logos that you see here are not for marketing. We've integrated, tested, and validated with all of them. Some of them are actually sitting here, our partners. We've been working very closely with them. So when Sienna releases Blue Planet and MCP, their API, their SDN controller, we've already integrated with that. When Juniper released Northstar and Infinera and Huawei had TSDN, Nokia had NSP, we've integrated with all these platforms. They're awesome. They provide you the domain visibility that you need. But what's missing for our customers is the extra layer on top that streamlines everything. So now all of a sudden you can have a single topology view, and I'll show you how the system looks like. Now you can have a single API. So as a service provider, you don't have to deal with all this complexity of matching or adapting to all these flavors of API. Okay? Of course, if there has been a standard that all vendors would talk the same language, that would be great. But reality shows that that's not the case. Remember acceleration? If there's one thing that as a startup company you don't have, is time. So we had to come with a solution that gives our customer a payback or ROI today. We cannot afford to wait 3 years from now. So we're taking the grunt work, the heavy lifting, talking to SDN controllers where they are, talking to legacy system, NMS, either it's going to be one controlled by Sienna, or even SNMP or NetConf to a Juniper router. We build a single network model. And this model is now shared. It's open. It's exposed through API and also through a GUI. And I'll show you some use cases. And then on top of it, once you have an end-to-end visibility of the network, now you can start providing value. Now you can start talking about automation and intelligence. And I'll show you exactly what we're doing with our customers. So for example, this is how the system looks like. If you actually want to see it live, booth number 20. What you're seeing here is basically a representation of a network. The top layer is the IP MPLS. The bottom layer is the optical. I'm just showing here, for example, an LSP that is a multi-hop LSP. It starts from around Seattle, goes through Chicago, New York City, all the way down to Miami. That's the green, the orange path there. But now we can also see the optical path that it's taken, right? Because everything is correlated. And remember what I told you. It's fully automatic, directly from the network, based on algorithm read-only. No proprietary protocols, no LLDP, no CDP. It's all based on mathematical approach. But once you have it correlated, you can actually see how the circuit or the service is routed through the network. So the left column there, it's hard to see on this screen, but if you come to our booth, we're going to show you. You have an LSP. How it's connected to the router interface, how it's connected to the Ethernet layer, the ODU, the OTU, the OCH, the OMS. Each one of them is it's its own world. I mean, there's so much complexity within it. How do you hand off between them? You can easily now track the service end to end, and that's a pure multi-layer, multi-vendor, multi-domain solution. All right, so you would ask yourself, so what? So you have a nice GUI. So you know how the service looks like. You can even expose it through API. What can I do with that? Where am I getting the value? Where is my ROI? And this is where we're directly coming to the use cases that I would like to share with you what our customers do with that. Okay? So let's assume you trust me. And we have a way magically to discover everything. We know how to go to the network, correlate everything, and life is good. Now we have a data model that shows the network. Let's give me the credit for another 10 minutes that I have. I want to share with you what can be done now. So, and that's the acceleration. We want to offer an evolutionary path to the new architecture. So how to migrate the network in order to increase automation. How to migrate services to SDN. How to provide value in the meantime. That's what we're trying to answer, and that's where the acceleration is coming from. Because we think that if we can help you in monetizing your investment up front, you deploy the controller, you did something, you have a new type of equipment, you want to see the ROI as fast as possible, then it works in our benefit. So here are the use cases. Several steps. Phase 1, network intelligence. So you've deployed the system. You know how your network looks like. You have the data exposed through API. The fundamental things that all of our customers tell us, can you somehow feed my inventory system with accurate data? I was like, why? He said, because you guys, one of our customers coined the term, you are the golden source. You're going to the network. The network always tells the truth. So we have invested millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in IT and OSS systems over the years. If we can still use them, if we can still use the pipeline, right, that is already in place, but right now we can reduce the order fallout. We know during the design, assign, and create process which ports are available and which not. And if I'm seeing something in my inventory system, now I can trust it. Unlike today, when I'm trying to provision something, and I'm trying to design a circuit, I'm going to my inventory system, maybe Turks, maybe Metasol, whatever I have, and I'm designing the circuit, and when I'm trying to go out and provision it, my provisioner tells me, no, there is a mistake here, this port is already taken. Or no, this port is not connected here, it's connected to somewhere else. And that creates a lagging process. That creates the reason why it takes so much time to deliver services, even before automation. So what struck us is the fact that you can actually use the current data, the current networks today, and monetize it and get your ROI. Because you can still use your current system as you evolve towards SDN. And of course, once you have SDN in place with the REST APIs and the capabilities that, I'll tell you a secret, they're already available. You go to any one of the big vendors, they already have REST APIs exposing over their platforms. So that's not the bottleneck right now. The bottleneck is to stitch everything together. So that's an example for a first use case. But then, we discovered large-scale networks, and we started looking at data. A bunch of geeks playing with the data that we're seeing. And all of a sudden, we saw that we can identify tons of anomalies that our customers were not aware of. So for example, we were able to come to our customer and say, do you know that your redundancy path is not actually redundant because it goes through the same DWDM trunk? Do you know that in this case of a failure, you're going to get this hub isolated, and you're going to lose this metro area completely in the case of a dual failure? And how do we know it? Because we have data from the network. We understand how things are configured. So automatically, it helps them to identify anomalies, reduce time to repair, coordinate maintenance. How many times have you heard the story about an optical team going and maintaining or doing code upgrade for an optical node, taking down a DWDM link without even understanding which IP links are going to be affected, and affecting a customer with high priority traffic? All these things can now be coordinated and eliminated. And this is what our customers do at the first phase. Remember, it's read-only. We're still at the read-only phase. We didn't touch automation yet. And that's the cool part. It allows you to monetize and get your ROI on the go. Now, let's say you did that. You've deployed the solution, you did the network intelligence, but you already have no controllers in the network because, time went by, you've deployed, you have next generation, maybe CDC ROADMs, maybe you have routers with BGPLS or PSAP. You can do cool stuff. So now, the second step is to do traffic-aware automation. So let's actually treat the network as a pool of resources like everybody likes to say, but now we can actually do that because we understand the network as a whole. We understand the inner domain. We understand exactly how the ports are connected. So when I say traffic-aware automation, I mean at the trunk level. So imagine like you have a floating port, floating 100 gig port on the router, and you can allocate it as needed, maybe to serve, let's say, a data center interconnect for data replication on demand, bandwidth on demand. But it's all at the trunk level. You want to steer a wavelength. You want to do wavelength as a service and later tear it down. We're still not at the specific customer service level. So you can do control managed network resources as a pool. You can focus on improving traffic flows as a whole without understanding the specific VRF or specific VPN. But you're getting some automation into the network. One of the first automation applications we've deployed, and it's shocking, but you go to any major router vendor today in the industry, Cisco, Juniper, Nokia, they have a feature on the router, on the interface, it's called SRLG. It's a feature that allows you to tell the router about the physical risks that the circuit is exposed to. So for example, if you have redundancy in your IP MPLS, you can tell the router, this one and that one cannot carry diverse services because they're not actually diverse. They're going through the same DWDM link. So the feature exists, but there's no system in the world that can feed this information automatically into the router. So one of the first applications we've deployed is taking the correlated data, the optical information, and feed it to the router so the control point of the router can take care of this diversity. Automation at play. And that's not 5 years from now. That's not even 2 years from now. That was done already. And that provides resiliency and control to the customers, which takes us to maybe the holy grail that everybody here was talking about, which in my opinion can come right after that, which is the service-aware automation, where we all want to be. We want to be able to offer at the service, at the VRF, at the layer 2 VPN, right? We want to offer end-to-end service provisioning. But only after you understand how your network is built, only after you can orchestrate across the domain. Now you can see, all right, I have a CPE here. It's connected to this edge device. It goes through the backbone, and this is the other central office. I understand the topology. I can do design, assign, create, provision through the controller. Now, again, as I said, you go to the most famous vendors. Their SDN controller already exposing those capabilities. So it's already there. But the thing is that if you're trying to jump on phases and go directly to the service, and this is where my presentation started with the silent killer, the customer that tried to do that, and basically we ended up working with them, told us that what killed them or what stopped their project was the fact that when they reached a demarcation point between domains or between layers, the solution stopped working because there was no way to correlate it. So within a domain, it worked perfectly. But outside of the domain or inner domain, which they're spending most of their time, it was challenging. So what we've learned, and as a startup company, you always learn the hard way. You never learn the easy way. It's always a lesson learned. But we're very thankful for our customers for teaching us that this stepped approach can actually provide tons of value. You can actually get your return on investment. It builds trust within the organization because now different users group can get benefits. Whether you're responsible for provisioning, you're responsible for maintenance, you're responsible for IP optical. I can tell you we're now expanding also to support some GPON and microwave because they saw the value. And they do want to have visibility into the other side of the organization that right now is not so visible. So by having this stepped approach, you can monetize your way towards having a more controlled and automated network that we all want to have. So I think the impact on the service provider business is almost clear. So basically, if you have the data, you remove the uncertainty. Because there's a lot of uncertainty if you don't know how things are connected. That immediately results in less over-provisioning. So that's CapEx saving. You can better troubleshoot, reduce time to repair. So brand damage is eliminated. High resiliency, as I said, with our SRLG automation, again, what we did with our customers. So now with the same resources that you already have, you don't need to change anything. You can actually reduce your operational expenses because you've guaranteed that a diversity is maintained, and your customer won't call you say, hey, how come my protected service is down now? Should I have like 5 nines SLA? And it goes on and on. But it all inherits from the fundamental technology of having an accurate correlated data that is coming from the network and being maintained automatically on the fly. Not trust in inventory system. Go to the network tells the truth. Let's combine everything together, and then we can easily automate on top. So just to summarize, network discovery by itself is not an application. It's a technology. It's an enablement technology that allows you to do all the extra steps. You can start gradually, safely, read-only, get the network intelligence. And as you move on to traffic-aware and service-aware automation, you can monetize your way and provide more and more function, build the trust within the organization, get the support of the key stakeholders while serving their business needs. Thank you very much. If you want to see actual demonstration of the system at booth 20, and if you have any questions, I'd love to take them.